Hi guys, Rishi Sunak's plan to stop the boats isn't going so well. First they moved people out of asylum centres into hotels. This meant that type of accommodation filled up and local residents complained. Then the plan was to move people from hotels into disused army bases, but resistance from people in the area meant that was fraught with problems too. Now the plan is to put a small number of people on cruise ships and barges, but it seems the Home Office hadn't bothered to check with ports if the ships could dock and if the barges are up to scratch to do the job. So who did the Tories blame for this abject failure? Well, of course, the Labour Party and their lawyer friends.
The Bibby Stockholm still is not up and running. This, of course, is the barge that's been brought to the UK. There have been delays about when it was going to arrive. It's a month late. 2 other boats had to be returned after you couldn't find any where for them to dock. The housing of people in RAF Scampton is delayed again. When is the Bibby Stockholm going to be up and running?
Well, it's going through its final checks at the moment. It's right that we have whatever accommodation we provide is safe and secure as well. I can't put a time frame on it.
So is it safety concerns that's delaying?
But it's going through final checks at the moment, and that's with anything you'd want them to be properly checked out.
But no time frame is.
Well, the checks are going to take as long as they're going to take. It's important we get these things right, and it's similar with the Rwanda scheme. It's something that we've been really pushing on to try and get people out of the UK who have no legal right to be here. But there's a court process there, and I can't determine what that process is. But what the clear message from the government is that we want to tackle these issues around illegal migration. I've been voted 72 times in the last few months against the Labour Party, who did everything they could to water down those measures. I think it's really important that the people see a government in action. Yes, these things take time. And yes, we're being fought every step of the way by both the opposition and their friends in the legal community as well, trying to frustrate our efforts to get illegal...
So you're blaming the Labour Party for the Bibby Stockholm?
To get illegal immigration under control. And we have just a very different point of view on it to the Labour Party. And
So it's the Labour Party's fault that Rishi Sunak hasn't stopped the boats. It's Rishi Sunak that said that he was going to stop the boats by the end of the year. But it's the Labour Party's fault that he hasn't achieved that. He has a majority in Parliament. It's insane. You have a government with a majority saying that they can't do their job because of the Labour Party, who are not in power. He's acting as if it's the Labour Party that are running the country, not the Conservatives. So it's the Labour Party's fault and the lawyers, their friends, that Rishi Sunak isn't able to process enough claims. It's their fault that he's moved people into hotels. It's their fault that he's moved people from hotels into army bases. It's his fault that the ports of Liverpool, I think it was, and Edinburgh refused to allow these cruise ships to dock. And it's their fault that this barge isn't up to scratch to do this job. Like, why did they accept why did they give a contract to a company to take this barge if the barge isn't fit for purpose? Surely somebody from the government would have went there first and had a look at the barge and say, okay, is this what we need? And then signed the contract. Or is it once again a case of corruption where somebody was given a contract without actually doing any due diligence? But notice how it's always somebody else's fault. I've said this before. When it came to the pandemic, blame the public. When it comes to Brexit, blame businesses for not being ready for Brexit. It's always somebody else's fault. So when it comes to not stopping the boats, it's the Labour Party's fault and it's the lawyers' fault. Never Rishi Sunak's fault, never Suella Braverman's fault, never the Conservative Party's fault. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.